We all love the iconic games of Rayman, and for good reason, but with every great thing comes an equally crap thing. Here are the worst parts of each Rayman game in my humble opinion. Rayman 1 is a ridiculous game. From the beautiful visuals to the stupidly engaging gameplay, there is a lot to love. I've made it clear on this channel that Rayman 1 is not my favourite, but that in no way means I can't appreciate the game for being awesome. And for the record, I do like it, just, not as much as the others, I suppose. Either way, the low-hanging fruit here would be saying that Rayman 1 is just too hard. And yes, it is, but that's cheap. I want to focus really on the bad choices, the things that are objectively bad. Being difficult is fine, but I want to get to the bottom of truly the worst thing Rayman 1 had to offer. Part of me wants to get super picky and say the fact that on some versions of the game you can't use the checkpoints photo thing very easily because the stupid sliding physics make it impossible, but that's too small a nitpick, I think. And if I were to say that's the worst part of the game, I think I'd be a fool. Truthfully, the biggest thing that bothers me in Rayman 1 is the trial and error design philosophy. It's not the difficulty per se, it's just the fact that so many jumps and actions are based entirely off of failing first and then learning. Or the fact that so many jumps need to be pixel perfect. So my answer to this entry is actually a bit of a mishmash of all of it. I'm going to say that because of the different versions of the game and poor playtesting, the worst part of Rayman 1 is how the majority of versions don't work as intended due to broken level design. I'm talking about every version other than the Atari Jaguar version being absolutely fucked. I don't know if you know this, but there are videos talking about it and I'm going to make my own one day soon, but basically the original Jaguar version is good. It's playable, it functions. The PS1 and subsequent ports all have messed up jump and sliding physics, meaning so many of the insane difficulty spikes weren't intentional after all. They just broke the game and released it. It's absolutely bonkers. So yeah, my biggest gripe with Rayman 1 is it's literally broken in most versions of the game, and for me that makes it a lot less fun. If you have played the PS1 version, which most people who played Rayman 1 have, you have played a broken version of the game and never experienced it as intended, and to me that is a shame. Rayman 2 is my favourite Rayman game, but even I can admit there are faults in this thing. I'm not a great fan of the spider in the canopy, but it doesn't ruin the game. I don't like the combat very much because it's very one note, but the game knows this and it keeps combat to a minimum. Hell, I don't even like the final boss fight, but that's not quite the issue. You see, for me, the absolute worst thing from Rayman 2 is the stupid flying shell. It's not fun to control, the controls make no sense, and for some dumb reason you have a huge flying section right at the end of the last level, and then the final boss fight relies on those stupid flying mechanics again. It's a very cheap, very cop-out way to end a game, introducing a new mechanic that late, worsened by the fact the mechanic is awful. If the final level had a running shell section, it would have been awesome. We'd had a few up to that point, so hiking the difficulty up and giving the player a real challenge would have made sense. A brand new mechanic that needs a lot of time to learn only ends up disrupting the pace of the final mission, and that sucks. I get it from a scale point of view, you need to make the ending feel bigger than anything else in the game, but there are better ways of doing it than this. Additionally, the final boss suffers because of this awful decision, and I will never get over that. So yeah, the flying shell is far and away the worst part of Rayman 2. Rayman 3 is actually a near-perfect video game, in my eyes. There are fewer things that I don't like. I just don't think it hits the phenomenal highs that Rayman 2 hits, Basically my favourite flip-flops between these two pretty frequently is normally whichever one I've played most recently. But in terms of the bad stuff, I don't love the cutscenes never lining up with the audio, but I think that's because it was animated for the French dub, because it's a French game, so I can't argue with that. It's like choosing to watch the stupid English dub of Squid Game and then complaining when it's awful. I don't like the Razov fights, really, but if I say a perfectly serviceable boss fight is the worst thing in the whole game, I'll lose a lot of respect for myself, and probably from everyone else as well. Additionally, I'm not going to pull the double whammy card and say the stupid last-minute flying mechanic that ruins the final boss fight is the worst thing in the game, because frankly, it's way less offensive than the one from Rayman 2. I don't like it, but I've also talked about it way too much on this channel, so I'm just going to let it slide for this video. Truthfully, this was the hardest entry for me because I love it all so much, but I'm gonna have to say, through gritted teeth, the ship level at the start of the summit beyond the clouds. I know we're sort of getting into the worst level territory, rather than just the worst thing, but I find this to be my least favourite segment of the game for a few reasons, not just because it's a bad level. The gameplay just isn't fun, it goes on for way too long with no challenge other than just getting to the other side of the boat quickly and hitting. Where's the exciting combat? Where's the fun? Why isn't there more to explore on the ship? They made a whole level set on the damn ocean, and it is this dull? It's almost the fact that it wasn't more that upsets me, rather than the level itself, if that makes sense. Rayman 3 is a game that always goes for it, it basically never holds back, but this bit just felt like it was rushed and added on for the sake of it. It's fun actually playing through a journey, rather than just like seeing a cutscene or being told by Glowbox that we arrived and the water was rocky. But I think it could have been a lot more engaging rather than just that awkward middle section between two excellent levels that really disrupts and ruins the pacing, Imagine getting bombarded by hoodlums and you have to fend them off and fire cannons and shit. Imagine jumping onto another ship and collecting gems. I don't know, there's a lot that could have been a lot more, and that really annoys me. Anyway, it's a testament to how good Rayman 3 is, really. Rayman Origins, like most Rayman games, is near perfect. So what's the worst part of this game? I don't know. Underwater levels aren't fun for me, but they're probably the best underwater levels a game's ever had. I struggle with the mosquito levels, but I still love them. The boss fights are all amazing, the nymphs are... Yep. I also feel like it would be a bit cheap to say the story is the worst part, because... well, it kind of doesn't exist. Like, it's not actively bad, so I don't think it should count. The time trials are awesome, the costumes are fun additions, the music is amazing. Rayman Origins is about as good as it gets. I mean, I don't love those sit back and watch it happen levels. You know the ones. You've rescued the Electoons and they're celebrating, and for some reason there are huge ones. Yeah, you just sort of jump and then let it happen and it collects all the lums, but wait, if you mess it up a little bit and you miss the lums, you have to do it again. It's a bit naff. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but it's hardly peak gameplay, and in a game as phenomenal as Rayman Origins, if it isn't peak gameplay, it's probably the weakest part of the game. Rayman Legends is like Rayman Origins, but just a tiny bit worse. Look, I'm not a Rayman Legends hater, okay? I just prefer Origins. There's a lot to love in Legends. The music levels, the big expansive areas to explore and have fun in, the challenges, those creatures, for some reason. The Rayman Origins levels, yeah, those are awesome. But Murphy fucking sucks, and he brings the whole game down from a 9 out of 10 to a 7. Stupid decision that was never even a good idea when it was a Wii U exclusive game. Maybe as a mini game it would have been fine, but he is there way too much and it fucks the pacing a lot, and I don't like it, and I'm sure people will disagree with me, but I've said what I said. Well, on that note, thanks for watching and not leaving rude comments about what I just said. You're cool. Let me know what you think in the comments of my choices, and let me know your own. I want to know what people don't like about Rayman Origins, because I can't think of any real issues. Anyway, as always, stay purple, stay limbless, stay awesome, and I will see you in the next one through your webcam.